So to answer the question of how does a bookkeeper actually help your business, I want to show you today. I'm going to show you exactly what a bookkeeper can do. Now, we do things above and beyond what most bookkeepers do, but you could maybe make these requests of another bookkeeper if you're using a different bookkeeper. So the first thing to keep in mind is that unless your Xero or QuickBooks or whatever you're using accounting is up to date, unless your bookkeeping is up to date, you can't make decisions. So the first thing we need to do is get your books up to date, ready, so that you're dealing with today's information, not information from 6 months ago or worst case scenario a year ago, because you have to make choices about where's your most profitable work so that you can go and pursue that. And often people don't realize that they're getting a lot of revenue from their work but not profit, and that's where you need your bookkeeper to go, hey, this work is producing lots of money but you're not keeping much, and then that's where that's very helpful. Also, cash flow predictability, super important, because you don't want to be in the spot where, oh, we've got a BAS payment coming up, we don't have money in the bank for that. That's going to be a problem. It's going to create dramas for you and your wife. So instead of that, you want to be able to see how much money is in your bank and then how much is likely to be coming in. And Xero bookkeeping is the best I know for that, because it's all right there for you. It's all graphed out. It's easy when your bookkeeper shows you where to find it, and also when it's up to date. We also do reports for people so they can see exactly where they're up to, because no one wants an unpleasant cash flow surprise, which is a fancy way of saying you don't want to end up in 1 month or 6 months time going to your bank and going, oh, we don't have money to pay people. You know, that's not where you want to be. Also, invoicing. You want a bookkeeper because if you're a tradie, for example, and you're running, say, an electrical business, you want to be invoicing people today for the work that you did today. Because if you wait a week before you invoice them, one, they've forgotten who you are and they don't have an emotional connection with you. And let's be honest, a lot of that work is small work. So, you know, they're like, well, they're not going to chase me for $500, are they? So you need to, on the day that you do the work, you need that day or that evening to get that invoice to that customer. Now, if you've had a busy day, you don't feel like doing that, and your wife sure as heck doesn't want to, so that's where you get your bookkeeper to invoice them on the day. The other thing is for getting that invoicing done well is you don't want to be giving 14-day terms or 30-day terms. I mean, unless you're in some trade where you don't have a choice, that's not what you want to do. You want to be giving, say, 7 days or due on receipt, okay, which is a fancy way of saying hurry the heck up and pay my invoice. Okay, you've got to take your invoicing super seriously. Most people who I would work for can probably save the money that it costs to work with me. They get that back because they don't have to spend their time chasing overdues. Another thing that say someone like us will do is we'll actually track who's overdue with their money, who owes you money and who hasn't paid you yet. And then we've got an extra service, an additional service where we'll actually chase them for you. We'll text them, we'll email them, and then we'll phone them. And then if they're still giving grief, well, we'll just be a little bit relentless, and that's not your problem, that's our problem. That's why you pay us, okay? We make that problem go away for you. You can never guarantee results, but I can tell you this, if someone's got, 20 businesses they owe money to, and one of them sending them a text message every 4 days and is phoning them every 4 or 5 days, eventually they're going to pay, okay? And obviously you don't do that with everyone, you just do that with the people who, they're in doubt. Okay, what else? Oh, the ATO. Another reason to have a bookkeeper is because the ATO is not actually your friend. As much as they would try and impersonate being your friend, the reality is they're standing there with a hand out going, give me my money, okay? Because especially when it comes to, say, your PAYG, it's not even your money anyway. And they certainly don't view it as your money. They're like, give us the money that's owed to us. So what you want to do is not end up in the spot where your bookkeeping is old, out of date. The ATO asks you a question, you're like, oh, I don't know the answer, and suddenly they're asking you a lot more questions and you don't know any of those answers. There's nothing more time consuming than a full-on audit. A full-on audit it's not that likely unless the ATO starts digging around and goes, these people are either dodgy or they're stupid, okay? If the ATO thinks you're dodgy, they will go to town on you. If they think you're stupid, well, it'll still cost you a lot of money to get sorted, okay? So that's another reason why you need quality bookkeeping. Also, at some point, you're going to need a bank loan. Now, whether it's a bank loan for another mortgage or whether it's a bank loan for a business loan because you're trying to grow, you need to buy some more equipment, banks do not want to deal with you unless your books are pristine, unless your books are absolutely beautiful. Because if you have books that are not beautifully on track, up to date, well ordered, the bank doesn't trust you. Because if you're a bank, who would you trust? The person who, they say that, they're organized and stuff, but their bookkeeping's not up to scratch, or someone else who their bookkeeping's been perfect, and you can see year after year track record of perfect bookkeeping. That's where bookkeeping really comes into its own. Now, there's 3 basic ways of doing bookkeeping, and I'm sharing my screen here because I want you to get this. Okay, the first thing is, if you have an excellent level of bookkeeping, it's going to help you make quality decisions. Okay, and I'm comparing that here on this page to, say, old school bookkeeping, where it's like, just get your bookkeeping done for the sake of tax. You know, like, honestly, that's not the purpose of bookkeeping. Yes, it has to be right for tax, but that's not why you have your books. You need to be able to look at the maths and work out what work is worth doing. The other thing is, and I don't want you to do this anymore, please, don't do it yourself bookkeeping. And that includes your wife doing your bookkeeping for you. You hate it, she hates it, it's just destructive in your family. And, you know, like, I was talking yesterday with an electrician, he charges $150 an hour, and his wife's doing his books for him. And it's like, okay, so you're spending you're working for $150 an hour, and your wife is working for way less than that. Why don't you take that burden off her, pay a bookkeeper who can do it way more efficiently than your wife? Don't tell her I said that. It's like, set her free. Let her go. Like, she didn't marry you because she wanted to be your bookkeeper, okay? So don't do it yourself bookkeeping. Coming over here. The actual reason why you want great bookkeeping is because is right here on the screen where you can see it. 1, you need to know exactly where you stand financially. 2, you need to know how much will be in your account, not just today, but next week, next month, 6 months, okay? And then, as well as that, which parts of your business are generating the big bucks, the actual profit that you keep. Because a lot of people are doing low margin work and they don't realize it's low margin. And yet in your Xero bookkeeping, it's very clear where the margins are. So stop doing low margin work, start doing higher margin work, you know. And then, as well as that, most people's accountants are charging them way too much. And it's not because your accountant is a thief or something. It's not that. They have to do the work that a bookkeeper should have done. The difference is your accountant might charge you $300 an hour, whereas a bookkeeper is only going to charge a small fraction of that as an hourly rate. So it makes all the sense in the world to get your accountant to do way less and your bookkeeper to do way more. Okay, you're miles ahead and you end up with a good quality product. Your accountant hates doing your bookkeeping. They give it to the work experience kid or the intern or, I don't know, whoever they can, but they give it to, like, the dumbest person on their team because it's so straightforward compared to real accounting. So your accountant doesn't want to do it. You don't want to do your bookkeeping. Your wife doesn't want to do your bookkeeping. Give it to a quality bookkeeper and you'll end up saving a lot of money with the accountant. And then this one here is important. It's like, your overdues are going to get dealt with and reminded if your books are up to date. Otherwise, there's a lot of, especially tradies, they'll have people who owe them money from a month ago or 2 months ago. It's like, hold on, that money's sitting there. It should be in your account. You're not the bank. Why should you be funding their, I don't know, their crazy lifestyle? That money's yours. You've earned it. You've paid in time and consumables to do that work. Let's get paid. And a good bookkeeper is going to at least let you know what's owed to you. Someone like us is actually going to go and chase them for you, okay? Because let's be honest, no one wants to do that. And the last thing there is, you can spend time with your wife or your partner instead of arguing together about the invoicing, or even worse, doing the invoicing yourself. At the end of the day, when you're worn out, okay, the last thing you want to do when you put the tools down is sit around on a computer entering data. That's just crazy. So I guess coming back to, what does a good bookkeeper do? They're going to do those sort of things for you, okay? And there's a lot there, none of which you want to do. And if I look even further down, these are the nitty gritty here, okay? We could go into this all day. We're not going to, but long story short is, we keep track of everything for you so you don't have to track it yourself. Your accounts receivable, I've already covered that. And it's not just doing the invoicing, it's tweaking the invoicing, because you and I know that different customers, you're going to charge different rates. You're going to have, you know, different additional fees. You know, you might have a call out fee for this customer and not a call out fee for that customer. And you need to be able to tweak it. It's fiddly to do yourself. That's why you outsource it to a bookkeeper. Also, your accounts payable. I mean, the bills you owe. If you don't pay your suppliers, they get cranky with you. And then when you actually need a favor from them, if you do go through a tough season or whatever, and you just want to defer some payments, they're going to say no. Whereas if you're always up to date, they're happy to work with you when things get tough. So you want your accounts payable to be on time every time. Also, your payroll. What a mess. Everyone hates doing payroll. Give it to your bookkeeper. They'll solve it. That's their job. Don't do what you're not skilled at, and don't do what, if you get it wrong, it's going to cause a lot of dramas in the long run. Your financial reports. The reality is, you don't need your accountant to show you exactly where you stand today. You don't need to, you know, an accountant charging you the big bucks, because all the information's right there on Xero already. You just need someone to show you where it is, and your bookkeeper can show you where it is, and And if they can't, they're not a very good bookkeeper, or they're not up to date. But it's all there. It's just waiting for you. And that's important because you want to make good decisions. And then as well as that, making sure that your bank account is actually accurate, both in Xero and in the real world. Details, Bookkeeper looks after that. Also, your inventory. So many people have got so much misaligned inventory. They've got too much of this product and not enough of that product, which means this one's just wasting money on the shelf for them, and this one, they can't serve their customers. The customer goes to the place down the road. Get your inventory right, and your bookkeeper can help you out with that. Data entry, details, that's our problem. Document management, again, that's our problem. Basically, you don't want to be turning up to your accountant at the end of the year with a shoebox full of, ridiculous amounts of invoices. Well, what that actually means is you made no decisions during the year based on good quality, up-to-date data. You didn't know where you were. You were flying blind like a Qantas pilot who doesn't know where the instrument panel is. And then things like, Xero needs to be set up properly. If it's not set up properly, you can't get the information you need. Again, that's our job. And this is a big one for why you would have a bookkeeper. A good bookkeeper doesn't cost you anything because you get it back from the accountant. Okay, instead of spending nothing on bookkeeping and everything on the accountant, at the end of financial year, you've spent whatever you spent on bookkeeping, and the accountant charges you way less because they're not having to, they're not having to do your stupid little details. They're just looking at the big picture and getting your tax right. So, and of course, cash flow and knowing what you're going to spend. Do you put on another staff member? Do you not? I was chatting with a guy who owns a cafe yesterday. He's like, I'm at that point. Do I put on a staff member? Do I not? We're coming into winter, and yet, we got too much work for our current team. And it's like, he's flying blind. He doesn't know what he's doing. He just needs to go into his Xero accounting, and he needs to look at, well, what is his profitability at the moment, and also what's his revenue likely to be in the next couple of months, because it's a very cold winter where he is, and people don't really want to go to a cafe in the middle of winter. So he needs to look at the patterns from last year and go, well, in winter, does revenue drop by 30%, or does it not? Because then you can make good choices. And again, if he had good bookkeeping, he'd be able to do that. So this video is really just so that you know exactly what a good bookkeeper does and what to demand from a good bookkeeper. Don't settle for some random bookkeeper who doesn't know, doesn't care, and hasn't been there before. Okay, pick someone who is good at their craft, who's an excellent communicator. That's super important, and who does what they say they'll do.